Welcome to the Reece Report. I am Andrew Reece, the Mouth of the North. I am here today bringing you episode 8. And today we are covering the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, as Vince McMahon would say it. I am joined today by Brian King Hussein from To The Point. As you know, we are reviewing all the A&E docuseries. Well, not all of them, but the ones that we care about. And we do care about Shawn Michaels, although he was not my favorite growing up. I wasn't too into Shawn Michaels. I actually, 9 times out of 10, cheered against him. I liked the guys that were facing him. But the girls loved him. And Brian, welcome to the show. And
thank you very much for having me back.
And we're going to talk about Shawn Michaels today. Where can they find you, Brian?
I think I'm sweet. I know I'm sexy. I got the look that drives the girls wild. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you right now. Just know that you are on the Reece Report with the one and only standing in that corner, weighing in with the hot takes, the Mouth of the North, the one and only Andrew Reece. I'm Brian. You guys can find me. Normally I'd be here talking basketball with my cohort, my partner in crime, Simon Skip Broder. You guys can find them on Amazon.ca. Normally we'd be talking basketball with on To The Point, Facebook, Instagram, To The Point Raps on Twitter, To The Point, YouTube, podcast, which is where hopefully you guys can find us. I might say, Drew, it's a pleasure being back on your show. And you know me, I love it just as much as you do. Just as much as you do with all the old school wrestlers on this A&E biography series. Thank you, A&E. I never thought I'd ever say that. Thank you, Vince McMahon. I never thought I'd say that. So, yes. What's up, brother?
Well, it's been a very up and down docuseries. Some have been good, some have been bad. This one here was weird for me. And I followed Shawn Michaels. I mean, he wasn't my favorite, but I followed him, and he was a big part of me watching wrestling. For the record, I've now on all platforms managed to tag myself as the Reece Report on everything. So on all platforms, you guys can find me at the Reece Report. But this was weird. Like there were some things that I didn't know about Shawn Michaels. There was a lot that I already knew. But we'll get into it. We need to get into Michael Shawn Hickenbottom.
What a name, eh?
An amazing name that can never be forgotten. I guarantee you, not one person who knows Shawn Michaels does not know his real name.
Your name is Hickenbottom.
Yes.
And you posed for Playgirl, which was a pretty homosexual magazine. And yes. Your last name is Bottom.
We will get into that.
I'm just going to put that out there for you guys. I'm just putting that out there. Yes. I have no judgments. It's okay.
So as you recall, so it starts off, and he was from a military background, which was interesting. He wanted to get into wrestling at age 12, which most wrestlers do. But what I didn't realize when I started watching, or when I was watching in his heyday, he had Jose Lothario with him as a manager for a short period of time, and he was introduced as his trainer. But I never realized he actually did train Shawn Michaels before he started wrestling, and actually got him into his first match.
Yep.
So I believe
that was in the AWA.
Yes, in the AWA, which was interesting. This was before he joined Marty Jannetty and became the Midnight Rockers, which was not just a nickname. These guys
that was in 1985, man.
Man, these guys were partying every single night. And man, when you watch this documentary, like these guys were wild party animals, very young, wanted to be a part of the crowd, and they just were going mental with the drugs. It didn't hurt their
There was
performance, but
multiple drugs.
man, these guys were doing everything. Michaels would refer to it as blow throughout the documentary. But yeah,
I
these
love that
guys were
Scarface reference that he said, but that was
yeah
great. Anyway,
these guys were heavy drug users. But it didn't stop them from getting to the WWE. The WWE at WWF at the time actually hired them in 1987,
yep.
based on their performances. But it only took one day for them to then get fired, because Shawn Michaels during the show says that he has no idea how this happened, but there was a bar fight and they were blamed for the whole thing. And Vince, based on reputation alone, got rid of them. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were done at age 23. Shawn Michaels is done. He thinks he's done, and they end up at Continental Wrestling making $300 a night. And if you thought Shawn Michaels was a big drug user before, this depression he went into made him even more of a drug user. And
$300, man, you can't get all those drugs that you want.
I mean, you're about to go to WWF, and now you're performing in front of 25 people, so you can imagine how depressing that can be. But luckily enough for them, they worked hard and played hard, and Pat Patterson, good old Pat Patterson, got them back into the WWF, based on their athleticism and ability to work with big men. As you know, in the 80s, the WWE was full of big men, and that was what their entire wrestling company was based on.
Yep.
So they got back in. They got into great rivalries with the Hart Foundation and many other tag teams. They had a chance to win the titles a few times. And they were a great tag team. I mean, I remember them, and I was like, this is the team I love to watch. This is the team that I want to see win the titles. It never did happen, due to some unforeseen circumstances with ropes breaking and matches not going well with the Hart Foundation.
Oh man!
But they deserved it, but never quite got there due to really horrible circumstances. I mean, this team had some bad luck, and it just didn't happen. And then they got to a point where they were kind of getting stale, and they had fought all the tag teams, and Roddy Piper, boy, oh boy, this Roddy Piper, big troublemaker.
This is what I wanted to get into.
Yeah. So, did you want to talk about this, Brian? Yeah. You want to talk about this, Brian? This Roddy Piper incident?
Roddy Piper telling Michael Shawn Hickenbottom, as you guys know him as Shawn Michaels, HBK, the sexy boy. Okay, you have a bright future as a singles wrestler. And Drew, I know you love this just as much as I do. On the barbershop with Brutus the Barber Beefcake, by the way, Hulk Hogan's cousin, in case you guys didn't know that, where Shawn Michaels pulls up the sweet chin music and drops Marty Jannetty through the glass.
Marty Jannetty was not happy about these thoughts being put into Shawn Michaels' head.
Are you kidding me? Right there, that just shows that Shawn Michaels has all it takes to be. It's the greatest
tag team breakup in the history of wrestling, and it has never ever been repeated. And my God, there have been some horrible tag team breakups. This to this day is by far the best breakup you're ever going to see.
It's never going to get past that.
The only problem is it only worked out for one guy, as you'll see. Marty Jannetty isn't even mentioned after the breakup. Once that happened, this was a totally new guy with an ego the size of a country. And if you thought he was a big drug user after he got fired, now he's the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, and the pressure is on. And he's just a guy that has nothing to lose. He's got Sensational Sherry. Now, here's the interesting part about this HBK character. I never knew this.
Okay.
So he says that this character was based on Freddie Mercury and Elvis.
I'm like,
that's what it was. Like all these times he was coming out with the mirrors and the weird outfits and the dancing. I'm like, all this time, I'm like, how did he come up with this? And when
I
he
also
said
thought
that,
there might be a little bit of Prince in there, but
I was like, Freddie Mercury and Queen. I had no idea that that's what he was talking about. So that was interesting to learn. And then of course we get to me, I got interested in him when he did the ladder match with Razor. That was, to me, that was the beginning of Shawn Michaels getting interesting to me, because I really didn't care about him before. And then he fought Razor for the IC title in the ladder match, and that's when I got into him and Razor, because that match was
the
unbelievable.
Click.
Yes. So that match to me really introduced me to Shawn Michaels. The Click.
Can I give you an interesting fact?
Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of the ladder match and Shawn Michaels,
Yeah.
because everybody out there will say that is, they will say that is the first ladder match Shawn Michaels has ever. His first ladder match was July 21st against our Canadian boy, the one and only Bret Hart.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yes, and I also know that Bret Hart came up with the idea and was salty when the first match on TV, ladder match on TV, was between Bret Hart and Razor Ramon. Sorry, Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon. So yes, I did know that, but you needed to remind me because I had forgotten about that. So then after that, Razor wins the title. The original concept was Shawn Michaels had been suspended for steroids. He wasn't happy about it, kept his title, and then they had both titles in the air, and Razor won the titles. Then he gets a bodyguard, and here's where Kevin Nash comes into play, Mr. Diesel, and the Click.
Big Daddy Cool.
And the Click is born. The Click was born at that point. I don't want to get too much into the Click. They caused a lot of problems for a lot of wrestlers. They got themselves into trouble with the curtain call, which is one of the most important events in wrestling history, because it then that was how Stone Cold Steve Austin was launched. He may never have become what he became if that didn't happen, which we got into during his docu-series.
That was when they broke in the fourth wall.
Yeah,
we all got to see what really goes on behind the curtain.
Yeah, so I don't want to get too much into the screw job, because that was more of a Vince, a Vince Bret Hart thing. Shawn was sort of just the guy that had to make sure it happened, along with the referees. So, I mean, that's been covered to death. I don't want to get too much into it. Well, if Bret Hart, I'm sure we'll have one soon that we'll do, and we'll talk about him then.
Hey, Bret, if you're out there watching this, come on, tell us the real deal.
Yeah. So, without skipping too much, basically, they get into his back injury, which took him out of wrestling for 4 years. When the Undertaker backdropped him out of the casket, that looked very painful.
That hurt.
And this was 4 months before.
Do you see him? He actually missed that. He was supposed to go over, but he didn't.
Yeah, he landed wrong, and he didn't even know he was hurt until he went home. And then this is 4 months before Mania, when he's got to drop the title to Austin, who's the hottest thing in the company right now. And
your boy,
he was salty about it. He was pissed. He didn't want to go out that way, but he really didn't have a choice. And when he got to Mania, he had to be coerced to do what he had to do. And look, they didn't really go into this, but Shawn Michaels was a jerk. Like he was not a nice person at all. He was a real asshole to a lot of people during this time. He had a big, huge ego, and he never wanted to drop the title to anybody. He lost his smile during this time. He wouldn't fight Bret Hart for the title during this time. And so he went away. He dropped the title to Austin, and he was off for 4 years. Well, he was retired at this point. And then he was away for four long years. And then he had a legit reason to take drugs, because he was in pain all the time. So now the pain pills come into play, and his drug use
That's mostly
just
what these guys
continued.
do.
I mean, I'm amazed that this guy didn't look worse for wear with all the drug use he did. He maintained his look for the most part, which was amazing. Um, yeah, yeah, that's where you get the drawn, the drawn out promos from the lazy talk. But so
What else, Drew? What else, man?
well,
What else? What else you got to tell me about Sean?
well, during this time
I don't know about.
he meets Whisper,
Oh yes.
from the Nitro Girls. Yes.
Oh my goodness! Can you imagine that? You see a girl on TV and
I
be
mean,
like, "I want her," and you get her.
listen, man,
And,
if you
and
saw that
like
chair
her?
dance, I'd fall in love too. My God.
Don't.
So
I hope your wife's not in the room. I hope she doesn't hear that.
yes. What a dance. That's all I can really say. So
Miss
Shawn
Shelling!
Michaels. Yeah, well, we'll have another one of those pretty soon after this. But so he finds a way to get a hold of her, and this is like love at first sight. I mean, these two talked and dated for 2 weeks, and they were married 2 weeks later. So love at first sight, married in a month. But what I find interesting about this is that it didn't change Shawn Michaels' drug use. It didn't change his depression. He wasn't happy without wrestling. He later has a child.
And that's I think that's exactly what changed him.
Yeah, well, not necessarily, because what changed him was his child finding him passed out on the couch from his drug use. Taking muscle
Would you like to
relaxers.
see? Would you like to see little man out there, your boy, seeing you passed out?
So
you wouldn't want that, right?
This was the come to Jesus moment where his son found him passed out on the couch, and Shawn,
hallelujah.
He took himself into a bathroom and he just said, you know what, enough's enough. I don't want my son to see me like this anymore. And he had his come to Jesus moment, and he found God after this. And years after the 4 years passed, his wife comes on the show and basically says, look, I mean, that was his moment. And after a few, after some time with God, his back pain went away. And so now he had a chance, he had a chance to go back to do what he loves, for his son to see him wrestle and maybe find some inner peace and some happiness. And that's what he did. I don't know if you want to get into the matches too much, but he did say that without drugs, he would not have been as creative as he was, and he may not have accomplished what he did because he was a very shy and nervous kid and may not have got into the business like he did. He may not have been the person he was, which is fine.
I understand that. I know some introverts, and they say when they take psychedelics, they could be an extrovert and be very creative, and they are great at what they do. And I just tell them, you don't need that. You can just anyway.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels found his path on that one. You don't have to go down that path. And by the way, guys, what I want to do is just like maybe a quick PSA. Is you don't need the drugs. You don't need the psychedelics. You don't need that to be who you are. You little kids out there, you guys that are watching this, you guys don't need that. All you need is your heart. And you need to have a love for something, whether it be your wife, whether it be your child, whether it be God, whatever you think it is. That's what it is. And that's what's going to make you successful in life. And that's what's going to bring you. You don't need the drugs. You don't have to go down the route that Shawn Michaels did, even though he did find his way now running NXT, which is absolutely freaking awesome. Because I don't watch WWE, I watch NXT.
Yeah, he found his passion after wrestling.
Exactly, and that's what you guys need to do. You don't need the drugs. Let's kill all that. Forget the fentanyl and all this popping mollies and sweating all this. Kids, you guys need to stop that.
So he comes back and has his title match with Triple H, and then retires Ric Flair at WrestleMania.
Oh my God! That match.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember what happened at the end, Brian?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I love you.
And,
yeah, that's. I mean,
great
match. Then he gets the ultimate come to Jesus moment and gets the Bret Hart return with the
that match makes me brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
You know, we get the unbelievable Bret Hart return, which no one expected, where they shake hands in the middle of the ring. And then we have the ridiculous stuff after with Vince and Bret. But I mean, they got their moment in the ring, and that was great to see. And then Shawn ends it with two of the greatest matches ever with The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25 and 26. To me, Shawn Michaels was better. I liked him more when he wasn't on drugs and was, doing it for himself and having these great matches. I mean, he was great before his return, but I just like this version of him better. The one that wasn't angry all the time, the one that wasn't pissed off at everybody, the one that wasn't treating people like garbage. I like this version of him better. And it showed he had a lot of motivation to show people that he could still do it and to show his kid that he was still the man. So
I'm sure this hits home with you because you think of your kid with everything you do.
I mean, I thought it was a good ending, but my God, the drug use, I didn't realize how bad it was. And that's what I take away from this documentary. It's just, it's a great ending. It could have been a horrible ending, but he managed to find God, and great for him. And it's good to see him now, with no hair and with a big beard and helping young wrestlers get better. And that was the end. I mean, that was the documentary. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Brian?
Okay, so I have, as usual, every time we cover the wrestlers, I always got a couple of fun facts that I want to see if you know about. Now, first one is, do you know Shawn Michaels' singles career, his first ever pay-per-view event?
I don't know this.
WrestleMania 8 against Tito Santana.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would not have remembered that. But yes, that's true. That's true. Yes.
Did you know the second part? Did you know that he actually had to become ambidextrous, just like myself? He can color with his right, but right with his left. He actually is ambidextrous. Kind of like what we spoke on last time I was on the show with you about Macho Man going left to right.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Interesting.
Now, the biggest one, the biggest fact King has to say is he is the only member of the NWO that was never signed to WCW.
That is true. Yes, that is true. Yeah. Well, so, there you have it.
There you go.
There you have it, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is our show on HBK. I wasn't as into him, so this was a little harder to cover because I did not know how crazy his drug use was. I liked him more later on in his career. Next week, trust me, we are going to have an amazing show because the Ultimate Warrior is on next week, who I grew up loving, and to this day cannot believe some of the promos he pulled off. He was in the main event of the first wrestling show I ever went to, which was Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6. And I will never forget.
You were lucky at the Dome. Yeah, man.
So we're going to do that next week. But thank you all for joining us. Please subscribe, give us any comments or opinions that you may have. This is a lot of fun for us to do. It's just for us to reminisce about old wrestling stars. And I thank Brian for coming on, as always. We're going to cover about 6.
I thank you for letting me on.
And we're going to keep doing these and having fun with this. So, Brian, would you like to close us off, please?
Come on, guys! You already know what it is. Tune. You guys are locked in. Yeah, remember he recorded that with Sensational Sherry, which blew everybody's mind when it came out.
People don't even know he sang that song. That's what's amazing.
They were in the recording studio.
Yeah, he sings the song, which is amazing.
Shout out to our boy Chad. which you and I would not be doing this if it wasn't for him. And he calls me his Shawn Michaels,
There you go.
which is absolutely great. So
Yeah.
I hope he
Yeah.
checks us out.
Yeah.
But more importantly, guys, I'm so appreciative. I'm so humbled, and I'm so welcome to be on the Reece Report, just to see you guys and talking about Shawn Michaels, the old school wrestlers. You guys are gonna see us in the next couple of weeks. This is gonna get crazy. We don't even know where to go with this. But on behalf of myself and Andrew and bro, I love having you on here. I love being on your show. I love when you're on our show. By the way, we're gonna get at that next week. Anyway, on behalf of myself, Andrew Reece, and that production assistant behind you, my friend, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, and peace. You guys go check out the Reece Report.
See you on the next Reece Report, guys. Thanks very much. Good night.